What is going on? Welcome back to Financial Journey. So today I want to talk to you about NIO. I want to go over some of the data points, what is really moving it, and go over everything else that you need to know. But first, make sure you hit that thumbs up. And with that, let's get right to it. So NIO is up 6.08%. So the market's right now digesting their December numbers. So I'm going to go over that in a second. But $4.73 the high, $4.36 the low. Even though the numbers came out yesterday, you had pre-market relatively flat, and that is because of shorts. So shorts did increase pre-market. Right now, they're actually returning 1.5 million shares, so that'll make a little bit more sense on the price action in a second because of this. So first thing, they were increasing roughly around 2 million shares, just slightly over that. So that was them trying to suppress it during the pre-market. So they were increasing during this time period 2 million, and since then they are now at the net negative and returning 1.5. So that means during this kind of spike right here, they did return 3.5 million shares. So for those of you that say that's not manipulation or that NIO isn't manipulated, I think that's a very clear sign. But essentially, NIO is also getting some good buys on the secondary market. And so clearly big money actually does like the actual data itself. So these are all the transactions occurring on the secondary market above $100,000. You did have one sell pre-market for $144,000. Aside from that, all these are buys. So a very nice improvement, definitely. As far as the true numbers, it was 31,138. And so an increase of 72.9% year over year. I've already done a video late last night all about this and what to expect on a technical standpoint. It is somewhat playing out a little bit, but still I feel like there is it's inches away from kind of having a nice breakout. So I'm gonna go over technicals near the end of the video, but I think 31,000 is a pretty big accomplishment. The only other thing that I wanted to kind of bring up that's of value was posted by this individual. So it looks like NIO did file for a couple patents to expand their battery swap station. So I think in general that's on a cost standpoint very good, rather than kind of growing the infrastructure as is. It's better to grow your current stations. So I think that also signals a greater than anticipated demand. So I think in general that's a very good thing, but like I said, I think shorts are just doing what shorts do. So right now they are returning 1.5 million. Utilization is 100%, and cost to borrow average is 3.65%. So with the news that did come out, and as well at the same time Tesla unveiling their numbers a little bit lower than they're anticipated, kind of signals that NIO is doing relatively good in comparison. So in my opinion, it'd be wise for shorts to kind of return, because NIO is like I said, just inches away from having a nice kind of breakout. But 51% of all the options being done today are optimistic in nature, 2.7 million in calls, 887,000 in puts. So comparing it to previous days, it's most likely going to settle around the average between 4.5 to 5 million for the overall premiums. So no real abnormal spikes for that. But of the call options that are being purchased, you do see a very big consensus for it to be above $5, and for the foreseeable future for it to kind of grow and expand on that. So 550 and then 6 for January 17th, 2025. Bears are anticipating for it to be sub 450, and even now $5 for January 17th. So even the bears are somewhat turning optimistic, if that makes sense. So let me know your viewpoint on that. But with it at $4.63, it is trading between this R1 and the pivot. 460 is going to be a strong support. 473 is going to be the next strong key resistance / target. And so far that is actually the high right now. So NIO's actually just following the technicals to a T. So if you're ever wanting to learn technicals, I think NIO's kind of a good example ultimately. But $4.36 is that next strong support. Or at least the low for today, and so it kind of bounced off of this S2. So like I said, I think NIO is just consolidating right now, but it is most likely, at least logically, going to be retesting that. No new analyst ratings as of right now. I would figure there'd be at least 1 or 2 new ones as a byproduct of their recent numbers, so kind of stay tuned for that. And as I mentioned in my video yesterday, that dip that happened first thing, if you were able to buy some calls first thing, you're already up a good 25% in some of them. So definitely very, very advantageous to do calls if you are bullish on the stock. So let me know your viewpoint on that. But on a technical standpoint, it is above the ALMA, so that blue line right there. So the next big thing to really watch for is that group of resistance points right here. So the 50, 100, and 200-day moving average. So like I said, essentially the low end of that is that 50-day moving average at 477. So if it is able to kind of break above these resistance levels with some strong buying, whether it be later today, tomorrow, then you could see a lot of the options optimism come to fruition. So $5, $5.50, or even in excess of that. So yeah, once NIO is able to get above this point right here, then yeah, it's free and clear to kind of run up. So let me know your viewpoint on NIO. Do you think that it is going to break above these resistance points, or potentially just bounce off of that and trend lower? In reality, I think just NIO is trading at a very discounted value in comparison to a lot of its peers, and even more so than North American peers. But what's your thoughts on NIO? Do you think that it's time to buy, time to sell? What's your thoughts on all of that? And just generally, do you think that this is kind of a good thing, or do you think from a cost standpoint, viewpoint, do you think it's advantageous to look at expanding current stations, or do you think it's more advantageous just to kind of further its expansion outward? So what's your thoughts on that? And then one final thing, pop over to my Patreon, link in the description below and also the comments. I give buy signals on stocks, options, and crypto. Many of them have been absolute bangers, so pop over there and take a look. Link in the description below and also the comments. With all that, appreciate all of you watching.